Alright, so second part of this, this time we will create the rotational movement, something like this. And for that, this is going to be a very short tutorial, because for that we don't need to understand too much. We can use one of the inbuilt functions inside the Realm, which is basically called rotate about axis, I think. Yeah, there you go. And this is going to ask for 4 things. The first one is the normalized rotation axis. In this case, we want to rotate this thing based on set, which is yaw. So let's input that. So let's create that one, and the one that we are interested is the blue channel. Then it's going to ask for the rotation angle. For now, let me just create a parameter. I'm going to call this angle so we can see how this thing works. Then it's asking for the pivot. That can be the actual position, which is basically just the pivot of my mesh. And then the last attribute is going to ask just for the coordinates. In this case, we are going to use the warp position coordinates, right? So let's connect this thing in the warp position offset so we can see how it's working. Right. Let me just compile this thing. There you go. So right now, like I said before, all those functions are prepared to receive normalized values, meaning that this angle, whenever it's 1, right, you will see it will do the full revolution, right? So that's pretty cool. So we can do something with this, and what we want to do is simply use the same technique that we used before. So this sine function, we know that when we input the time, right, it's gonna do -1 to 1. So what we can do is simply multiply this by that factor. So for example, if I decide that it's gonna be 0.2, maybe that's way too much, 0.1 multiplied by 1 is gonna be that same value, but when you multiply that by -1, obviously it's gonna be in the opposite direction, right? So that's pretty cool. It's very simple to do and to understand. So let's just finalize this thing. For that, we can use exactly the same speed that we were using for the function right here. Actually, we can use all this, right? And then from there, let us simply multiply this sine function for the angle. Let's reconnect this thing to the rotation angle, and let's recompile and save to see what's going on. Okay. So there, basically, it's just rotating from the center using the same way. So you can increase or decrease the angle of rotation using these parameters. So maybe you want this thing to be a little bit bigger. Maybe you want this thing to be really small. That's up to you, right? So that's it. That's all for this second tutorial. The next one is gonna be more difficult, more interesting. We will deform this mesh using a sine wave.